welcome. We're going to be exploring what's in the way of productivity today. Hello, Ginger from Tennessee. 9:50 in the morning. Well, I hope it's going to be nice to start the day. Anyway, Ginger, fingers crossed. So welcome from Tennessee. So today we're gonna explore what's in the way of productivity from a three principles perspective and what to do about it, because that is a thing, isn't it? Hello, Christina. Good morning from Virginia Beach, and you're at 10:50. So there's an hour difference there. But we have lots of different time zones in the US. You'd love that. Like different parts of Europe have different time zones, don't they? We just have one in the UK because we're so tiny. Just a tiny country. So this month is what I've been exploring really so far, productivity, and it's really interesting. It's come off the back of a previous month's exploration in June. We're in July now, aren't we? When we looked at how to reveal our potential, and it's really interesting that productivity really came out very strongly. Procrastination, people wanted to feel more motivated, and so this session probably should have come at the beginning of the month really, but it just came to mind, this title, and I kind of felt inspired to share it with you really. So we are going to look at what's in the way of productivity and what to do about it today. So if you haven't met me before, and please do let me know in the chat if you have, if you are new to me and my work with the three principles, then do say hello in the comments, and let me know that you're new. And if you are oh my goodness, Sandra, that is many time zones, isn't it? if you are a person who's been on these calls before, then let me know as well. We often call you repeat offenders now if you come more often. So Sandra, hello from Ohio. We'll take a moment for that. I think Ohio, there we go. And you're the same time zone then as Virginia Beach. 4 time zones plus Hawaii and Alaska. Wow. That is a lot of time zones. I kind of have a familiarity with EST and Pacific and Mountain Time. I have a friend who lives in Canada and she's on Mountain Time. Is that in the US as well? Carmela in Olympia, 8 a.m. So you must be more towards the Pacific side of the US. Oh, I'm getting so with it with my information about US time zones now. All not that familiar to me because I'm in the UK. So we've been exploring productivity. Ginger, you're in Central Time and between Eastern and Mountain. Okay, cool. Right, I'm getting a hang of it now. So many to think of, so many time zones to think about. It looks like this is quite a nice time for people who are in the US. My kind of 3:50 in the afternoon, your morning. So a little bit about me. Let me know if you're new to me, if you've come across me before, and also if you've come across the three principles. It's good to know. Or if the three principles is something you've never heard of and you've no idea what anything to do with the three principles is about. Ginger, welcome. You are new. Good to have you here. So I was a very, very busy lady not so many years ago. I was a primary school head teacher and I burnt out in 2015. In fact, I actually went to work one day and looked at my computer and just went, can't do it, can't switch it on. Walked away, walked out of work and never went back. Didn't know I wasn't going to go back, thought I was going to have a couple of weeks off or maybe just a day and go back the next day, but I was poorly, really poorly. I was treated a long time for depression, but in actual fact had adrenal burnout, which is not the same thing. Much more like chronic fatigue syndrome, really, is adrenal burnout. I went on a massive journey trying to fix myself, trying to heal from not just from the burnout, from in a physical regard, but from what I thought was problematic about me. I really got caught up in productivity. That was one of my main things, not being productive, not being good enough, not doing enough. There was a lot of enough. A lot of me not being enough came into play, and I spent a lot of time trying to fix myself, both while I was sick and then after I resigned and when I started my own business. Then it really ramped up to a different level, and I was a massive self-development junkie. I'm going to call myself that because I was addicted to it, and I Didn't really know. Well, I didn't want to stop actually. That's really interesting to say that out loud. And maybe some of you can relate to that. To relate to that sense of needing to fix yourself and that needing to be a thing that you will do, a piece of work for you to do. And I was chatting to somebody earlier today where I kind of said that, that really was that sense of I'm my the mini project I've got going on, like my side hustle is fixing myself. That was it. And I would have probably guessed that I probably spent at least 10 hours a week. I think that's an underestimation, to be fair, trying to fix myself. And I went on like that for quite a few years, really. Always changing things, always trying new things, always, upgrading my affirmations, doing different gratitude practices, doing different meditations, doing different tools and techniques, and a lot of poking around in the past. That's where I ended up doing a lot of work. Was what went on in my past, what's kind of spoiled me along the way, and what can I do about that? Can I go back, sort it out in some way? And now I look at that, just think, goodness gracious, what a waste of time. And then I was introduced to the three principles in January 2020. Had after a very short period of time, had such a huge change in how I saw life and how I felt about life and how I felt generally speaking. Found myself feeling much calmer. Found myself very soon deciding that I didn't really want to do any of the tools and techniques, and that's something that I say to people, don't think that you've got to suddenly stop doing everything that you're doing now. But it may well be that after a period of time exploring this understanding, this inside out understanding, that you'll just stop through your own choice. You'll just suddenly go, oh, I don't really want to do those things anymore. Which is nice. It's a relief, actually. It was a relief for me to be able to stop. And then, I was a hypnotherapist at that point. That was my first business. And I then, lockdown came along, hypnotherapy in person became not a thing anymore, as you may remember. Lots of things that were in person became not a thing, didn't they? Especially in this country, we were quite severely locked down. And as my hypnotherapy business died, I really came to a very strong realization that I didn't want to do hypnotherapy anyway, and that I had really found something that I wanted to share. So I trained to share it, and that's what I do now here on Insight Timer. And of course, I do that with people in person as well, mostly one-to-one at the moment. And in the meantime, as I learnt about this and began sharing it and teaching it, I found that more and more stuff that seemed to be bothersome to me fell away, and my experience of life became generally nicer. And irony upon irony, after all that work I did to try and make myself more productive, I did become more productive. And I now find myself less and less in a place of chasing this more productive thing and not feeling like I'm doing enough. Now, what's really interesting about that, especially regarding productivity, is that over the weekend I had a conversation with somebody, an initial chat with somebody who were talking about ADHD, and I've often thought, oh, I wonder if that's something that was a thing. I'm not really a big fan of labels, but do you know what? I thought, as this woman was talking about how she was, I just thought, oh, that's how I used to be a lot, and I'm a lot less like that now. So I went off and did a little survey, one of these online questionnaire things about ADHD. And as I was answering the questions, I was thinking, it kind of gave you 4 options: never, rarely, sometimes, often. And as I was filling that in, I was kind of rarely or sometimes for most of the answers. I was thinking, oh, I used to be much more often. I would have probably clicked often 4 years ago on this thing, and now I'm clicking sometimes or rarely. And I just thought that was so interesting how, and that's the second experience of that kind of thing I've had, because I did a personality quiz a few years ago, and then I did it again when I'd deepened my understanding of the 3 principles, and I found that my personality had apparently changed according to the answers from the same quiz done twice. brought up different personality traits. And again, as I was answering the questions, I was thinking, oh, that's interesting. I used to think I used to be more like this and now I'm more like that. And I just think that is super exciting because society has got us all wrapped up in these labels. That we are a thing. We are a thing, a personality, a type of person, a label. And we've all got those labels for ourselves, haven't we? And what we kind of do is we go, I'm this label, and now I'm going to do all these things to try and fix my label. But what if we weren't the label in the first place? I think that's super exciting. That's something that this conversation really can be really enlightening about, I think. So welcome to all those people who've just come in since I started talking and telling a little bit about my story. If you've missed that bit, don't worry, because I'm screen recording my waffles and they will appear on my YouTube channel at some point in the next couple of days. So don't worry if you've missed a bit. Thank you so much for all the lovely love hearts going up the side of the screen. That's so nice. So at the moment on Insight Timer, I'm exploring productivity. That's the kind of theme for this month. As I say, that came off the back of exploring revealing our potential last month. And it came out strongly for a lot of people. And next month in August, we're going to explore relationships because, again, they can seem to be something that prevent us from reaching our potential, can't they? And actually, I think it's fun to explore whether or not that's actually true and finding out more about it from a three principles perspective. So what else do I want to say to you before we start? First of all, thank you so much for being here. Insight Time is a great place for me to share the three principles because I know that I'm here with a lot of open-minded people who are ready to hear something new and who have perhaps, I suspect, as I've got comments in the chat pointing to that, have been seeking for the thing to make themselves feel better for quite a long time. So in order to support me doing that, if you are able to make donations, I'm super, super grateful for that, as always. I haven't already said, have I, that I call myself a human potential catalyst, because I think I truly believe, I know that we all have so much more to bring into the world in terms of our creativity, in terms of our magical businesses that we might have, in terms of how we help people, in terms of what we want to bring into the world. And sometimes, quite a lot of the time actually, that gets blocked by our noisy minds, and I help that to get out of the way and to catalyze your potential more and more by allowing things to be subtracted rather than added. If you are new here, so Ginger, you're new, aren't you? So please do follow me, because that's the place where if you follow me, then obviously on Insight Time, you'll get told about things that I share. I put new tracks on here every week, new free tracks on here every week. And I also have 3 courses. I've started creating number 4. So we have the 3 courses are Calm, Balance and Clarity with Ease, Revealing Your Full Potential with the 3 Principles, and Stress to Success, a 3 Principles approach to effortless productivity, which is obviously the one that links to the work I'm doing and things I'm sharing this month. So it'd be really great to see some of you on those courses. What I love about the courses is the conversation that you can have. So I've just this morning been on one of my courses doing little voice notes back to people who've left me messages on the course. So it's a really nice place for us to start a conversation. And of course, the joy is in conversation, isn't it? So it's good to connect with you on those platforms, on the course platforms. So today, what is in the way of productivity and what to do about it? Let's dive into that subject. So what I love about being on Insight Timer is that you get to contribute, and I love your contributions. So if you pop things in the comments, I try to kind of get to every single comment that I can, although the sessions are getting busier and busier. So I'm not always catching all the comments, but if you are able to make comments and join in, then that's totally welcome, and I'll try to get to them as I go through the session. So this title occurred to me maybe a couple of weeks ago now. Don't know when I scheduled this session, probably a couple of weeks ago, because like it looks, doesn't it, like productivity is something that works outside in, and I really did think it did for a long time, that we're not productive, or we don't see ourselves as productive enough, And then we go to town on trying to find the right tool, the right technique, the right strategy to make ourselves more productive. And perhaps you can share in the comments some of the things that you've tried to make yourself more productive. So I can think of many. I did a lot of get yourself in the right state of mind stuff. So that would be kind of miracle morning, affirmations, definitely meditation, gratitude journals, other kinds of journaling. So there was all that, and then there was all the stuff about, oh, what in the past happened to stop me. Like the story was, I'm not productive enough. That's because I'm self-sabotaging, and that's because I don't feel good enough because of something that happened in my childhood. So there was a lot of that exploring the past, try and find the thing. I know you can use tapping for productivity. I don't know if I ever did it for productivity, but I have tried tapping. There's all sorts of things. And then the other side of the coin is often the tools, the practical tools. So I've tried nearly all the productivity apps at some point or another. I've spent many an hour moving my list from one app to another app, or from a paper list to an app list, and then back onto a paper list again. And then I have a Remarkable, which is one of these kind of write on tablet things. I have the notes for this session. I know I moved my list onto there. I've tried time blocking and all these other strategies. And I hope you can hear as I'm talking about that noise, a lot of noise, a lot of bless you, Alison. That's one I've never tried, actually, the bullet journal. Maybe I should try that too. I don't think so anymore. Yeah, so Christina, you did the same with lists on paper and time blocking. Yeah. So, but what I hope you can hear is noise. Like anything that we are trying, anything that we are doing as a strategy, anything that we're reading, because I read a lot about productivity, all the books about habits, all the 5-second rule type things, 4-hour work week, the one thing, all those kind of books around productivity, a lot of stuff around productivity. That what that did really was make my head very noisy, because I was thinking more about how to be more productive than being productive, if you see what I mean. It became very much that way out. Now, why is that not helpful? Well, the reason that's not helpful is that productivity, creativity, doing things, making things, moving is natural to human beings. That's a fundamental thing that I see as being true. And I can and there's bits, and I've been talking about this over the last couple of weeks, but there's bits of evidence for us to see that. So the first thing is to look at a small child or a group of small children in 2 to 4 years old, once they can move and do things, so maybe even a bit younger than that, is that they pretty much do, and then they fall asleep, don't they? Like my children would be playing, and then they just lie down wherever they were and fall asleep. Just like, I'm doing, and now I'm going to sleep. And they would literally fall asleep, like in the middle of playing. And they also used to fall asleep in the middle of eating as well. You kind of putting the spoon in, and the baby's face is there's food everywhere. Make sure there's no choking hazards as you let them kind of sleep flopped over on the high chair. But they're just like doing, aren't they? Creating, making a mess often, getting lots of things out, doing things all the time. And then they're not, because they're asleep. And then they wake up, and very quickly they're off again. They're alert and they're awake, and they're creating and doing and being productive. Now, not necessarily in a way you and I might want to be productive, because they're not trying to earn a living, things like that, or declutter their houses and things like that. But when you realise that it's not the thing that we're doing, it's our thinking about the thing, we can put all of doing in the same kind of category, really. It's all doing, isn't it? I was saying the other day, I think I was talking to a client, where I said that when you think about being productive, and we all have things we prefer to do and things we prefer not to do. Like, I would prefer to sit at my computer and create an Insight Timer course than I would do my bookkeeping. But in actual fact, because I use an online bookkeeping tool, my bookkeeping is not particularly complicated. I don't have that much bookkeeping. My business is quite simple, so it's not massive amounts of bookkeeping. I would rather do creating a course, which is probably intellectually quite a lot more challenging and takes a lot more work and a lot more energy to do. I'd rather do that than do bookkeeping. So that's fun to see, isn't it? Like, they're both an activity. One of them definitely is more challenging than the other, but yet it feels like I can't do the bookkeeping. Many a day it feels like I can't do the bookkeeping until I'm doing the bookkeeping and kind of kicking myself because it's actually a doddle in comparison to creating a course for Insight Timer, which is, it's just so interesting to see. So I think what I'm pointing to here is this natural productivity that we have, that we are naturally productive. We can see it in ourselves, we can see it in little children, and the other place that I think it's fun to look when in this conversation is in terms of what's natural to human beings, is that, well, if we hadn't been productive, when we were, wandering around, living in caves, and, our ancient ancestors, if we hadn't been productive, and even actually in more recent times, think about the Industrial Revolution and times like that, if we hadn't been productive, we would have been doomed. So there's something about the physical body has this natural productivity, because that's how the physical body is going to stay alive, is by doing things, collecting food, defending yourself and the tribe, reproducing, all activity, all productivity in some way, shape or form, and, are natural to human beings. So when we talk about what's in the way of productivity and what to do about it, the first thing to see is that productivity is innate to human beings. And so that starting point is about what's in the way of that. What's stopping us from doing the things that we have an inclination to do, from doing the things that might be good for us, good for our physical body, and what is it? And I can tell you one story right now about something that I've noticed gets in the way, and it's not necessarily of business productivity, but it's walking. Like, I've just been for a very quick couple of miles up the road, and up where we're parked here is beautiful, actually. There's a lovely path just up there, and I managed to find my way to the path and have a quick mile out and a quick mile back. But recently, before this current trip we're on, I noticed that I've got very excusey about walking, and I'm sure you know what I mean by excusey. It's a made-up word, but I know you know what I mean. Let me know in the comments if you know what I mean by excusey. So I've got more important things to do. I'm too busy. I've got lots, I'm actually doing quite a big study course at the moment at university level, and really being quite, excusey. It's a word. I'm going to use it. It's a good word, I think. Excusey. I've been quite excusey about going out for a walk each day, and I actually know that realistically I feel better. My body feels better. I feel better. I feel, more relaxed. I just enjoy being out in the countryside. I do love it. But I've been making excuses and not doing it. And then today, I just noticed myself doing that. And I went for even though I had only a little window of time, I went out and did it. So I did a quick walk. So there's something here when we're talking about what's in the way of productivity, about, noticing, becoming aware of the voice in our head that is preventing us from moving in a direction that may be helpful. So let's just recap for a minute. what I'm saying is that being productive is a natural thing. It's innate. And when I talk about innate, I'm talking about those qualities that are rock solid inside human beings, that are the essence of who we really are, like a diamond, you know. And then what's in the way of that essence coming to life, that productivity coming to life, is our psychology, our thoughts and feelings, because it is our thoughts and feelings really that dictate in the end how we behave, whether or not that potential, that essence, that productive, innate productivity that we have, whether that comes to life is down to what we understand about our psychology. And so that's the next little piece that we'll explore today is our psychology. Because that's what gets in the way of everything. That's what gets in the way of that diamond shining as bright as it could be. So as I've said already, let me know in the comments if this is making sense. If it's not, especially if you're hearing something that's resonating, or you're hearing something that just is a bit confusing, because you will have noticed that I'm speaking in a very different way to perhaps lots of other teachers that you've heard speak on Insight Time before. So what's in the way really of our productivity is some level of misunderstanding around thoughts and feelings. I think the majority of the world think that feelings are telling us about the outside world. So for me, the icky feeling, the feeling about bookkeeping could really easily look like it was coming from the bookkeeping. Bookkeeping makes me feel bored, or bookkeeping makes me feel anxious, or bookkeeping makes me feel overwhelmed, or whatever else you might say about bookkeeping. I'm wondering if the hearts are just because everybody else relates to bookkeeping, unless you're a bookkeeper, relates to bookkeeping in a very similar way. It's one of those things you just have to do if you have a business, and for many of us it's a bit, but it's not bookkeeping. It's not bookkeeping. It's our thinking about bookkeeping. So that's the first thing. We consider doing something productive, creative, putting something out into the world. Thank you, William, for admitting your relationship with bookkeeping. So we think about putting something out into the world, and then we have a feeling, and the feeling says, oh no, that's not going to feel nice, it's not going to be nice. So there's all sorts of things, other things. So I remember the first time that I thought about doing live videos. Now, bearing in mind, I'm doing 3 this week. I do all the lives on all the platforms too. I'm literally not the queen of calm. I'm probably the person doing the most live videos. I'm probably in the top 1% of how many hours of live content I do on a weekly basis. It's a lot. But before I came across this understanding, I would not have dared to do a live. I mean, there's something weird, isn't there, about me sitting here talking to myself. Is what I know I'm talking to all of you lovely people, but the only thing I can see is my own flipping face. It's a bit weird. It's a bit weird to be talking to your own face. And so it's understandable that our brain kind of goes, oh, that's a bit strange. But also, I've done a lot of speaking in front of live audiences, and I love that too. But there's something about talking and not being able to see other people's faces. That is a strange thing. And not knowing, the things about judgment, the things about what are people thinking about me, that kind of stuff. And it feel uncomfortable. So when I first considered doing live videos, I absolutely would not have done it. And I wouldn't have said I necessarily felt anxious, but I just didn't do it. So I avoided it. That's often how we know we're feeling anxious about something, don't we? Because we just don't do it. We just avoid it like the plague. And that's what I did. And then I can't remember when it was, but something fell away. And I became aware of my thinking about doing live videos. I became aware I was avoiding it, and I just started doing it. And I've done live video every week in some way, shape, or form since August 2020. That's nearly 3 years. And now it's got the feeling of brushing my teeth. I have no emotional thoughts about doing a live video. It just doesn't bother me at all. It took a while for it to get to that stage, but it now is just doing a live video, brushing my teeth, having a drink. They have the same energy to them, really. I love doing a live video more than I love brushing my teeth and drinking a drink, but in terms of emotionally, it doesn't have that level of energy that it used to have before. So this idea that our feelings are coming from out there puts us in a place of misunderstanding and has us not do things. It's one of the things, in fact, it's probably the thing, really. There's a bit more depth to it, which is coming up, but it's probably the thing that is completely in the way of us being as productive as we would like. Thinking that a feeling is telling you about the thing you're going to do, a misunderstanding that that is the case. Because feelings are not telling you about things or people or circumstances or tasks that we have to do in our life, our business, our work, whatever it is. Feelings are telling us about our state of mind. They're telling us about our thinking about things. And that's how a human feeling is generated, a human emotion. It's generated through thought in the moment. And so what we have in combination there, because the thoughts and the feelings are like two sides of the same coin, is we have this massive confusion. I feel anxious about, in inverted commas, about doing a thing. I have a thought in my head that says, oh, well, the way to feel better right now is to not do the thing, so I don't do the thing. Is that making sense so far? When we, what we're pointing to here is that that isn't true. Thank you. I've got hearts of understanding, I think, going up the side of the screen. I always love that. Thank goodness for the tiny mute button on my microphone, because if I hadn't have pressed it just then, you all would have got blasted with a coughing fit that came from that drink going down the wrong side. So I'm going to cough again, just bear with me. Oh, I'm so sorry. It's just my throat now is really burning, and I don't want to have another drink because I'm going to cough again. So this fundamental misunderstanding is leading us, I guess, down a path of not being as productive as we'd like to be, where really that capacity to be productive is still there. It's amazing to see that, and this is something I say often and love to say, that your feelings and thoughts don't know what you're actually capable of. It's almost like there's an essence of who you are, pure creativity, productivity, etc. And then there's your psychology. And most of us are living in our psychology most of the time. Me too. We can't not be in our psychology, but we can become more aware of what it's doing and where it's leading us to, and then start to see some chinks. And how I often talk to people, I've just started saying this actually, it's really making a lot of sense, is that to me, and maybe it's helpful to you, I've just really seen it this way. If you can imagine that you're on a train of thought and you're just heading through life with these trains of thought that are perhaps not the most helpful things in your life. And what I think this conversation does is it lights up, if you imagine you're on a train, you're on a train, it pulls into the platform, and then I don't know what it's like where you are, but in England, the conductor or the train guard gets off the train, checks that the train's on the platform, looks up and down, makes sure the train's on the platform, and then they turn a key, and then the light at the door, the other doors on the train, lights up and says open on it. And that's what it feels like to me, is that as we start to become aware of the trains of thought and what direction they're taking us in, it is like that button lights up. And it feels like there's just this opportunity to choose to get off the train of thought. And that is freedom, really. So, Sue, I think, thank you for that question. Which am I saying comes first, the feeling or the thinking? I don't think it matters, but I think the feeling is the driver. So it all happens so fast because they're two sides of the same energy, really. But I think the feeling is the driver. I think it is human nature to want to feel good. So if we think feeling good comes from not doing a thing, a thing that's on our list, or a thing that could move our business forward or our life forward in some way, or a thing that, I'm a lot decluttering at the moment, I keep putting that off, a thing that could make our life better in some way. It's the feeling that drives us, because as a human being we want to feel good. If the task looks like it's making us feel bad, then we're going to avoid the task. When we realise that the feeling is letting us know that our thinking isn't trustworthy, like if you've got an anxious feeling, you've got untrustworthy anxious thinking. And when you see that, you kind of start to go, okay, what would be helpful now that I know it's my thinking and not the world out there that's creating this issue, that's having me not move forward. And that's it is like I say, it's like the light comes on the door for us to step off a train of thought. That's it, and it creates a space. I would say so. Thank you, Sue. So the feeling is coming from the thinking. Then I don't think it matters that they're two sides of the same energy. One of them is taking form inside your head in terms of words or pictures or whatever. The other one is taking form in the body. The energy is taking form in the body in terms of a feeling and emotion. Like, don't get too caught up in which came first, the chicken or the egg. Don't get too caught up in is it thinking first, is it the feeling first? I don't think it matters, but what we do have, what we can see, and what is information for us is our emotional state. And our emotional state, our feelings, are letting us know whether or not we have trustworthy thinking. And that's the place from which we can navigate. I had a message this morning, a couple of messages this morning from an old client of mine. We're going to have another chat tomorrow. When I say old, I mean previous. She's not old. And she started to look at neuroscience and things like that. And I kind of said, too complicated for me. Do you know what? I'm looking to have a nice experience of life. And I don't know, neuroscience So I share lives regularly. I've got loads of free content, and I've also got 3 lovely courses: Calm, Balance, and Clarity with Ease, Revealing Your Full Potential with 3 Ps, and Stress to Success, a 3P approach to effortless productivity. And I've now created a course about relationships, and I now can't quite remember the name of it because I've just been I went back and forth with the name, so now the name hasn't solidified in my head. But that will be coming out at the beginning of August, and in August we are going to explore relationships. So if you're interested in exploring relationships from a 3 principle perspective, then please do join me then. The best way to know when to join me is to follow me. When you follow my profile, you will get told about all the new stuff that I put out there, and you'll be able to listen to all of that and hopefully find it helpful. So Jenny, you've just got here. Well, it is being recorded, so it will hopefully go out on your YouTube channel, maybe later today. Yeah, relationships, Jenny. I've just noticed it coming up in the chat a lot. So Steph, sometimes you have the thinking, but share that with a person you care, but then their energy is different. So you change your feeling into a scary feeling, maybe feeling insecure, or doing what you thought at first. Yeah, I can relate to that. I think we kind of think we're reading other people, and then we adjust to kind of accommodate, and it's kind of a fine line between that being thinking and that being coming from a connection with another person. And the key is, Steph, you've noticed the key is the feeling. Like if it feels scary, then that's your scary thinking. It's not the other person. Other people don't make us feel anything ever. They work inside out too. We all work inside out, but our experience of other people works inside out too. So that can really help us to navigate. And where I notice that being helpful is that if I'm in an interaction with somebody, and we'll talk about this when we cover relationships next month, I not all the time, because I'm not always the queen of calm. We could get Bruce over here now and he'll come and tell you all about how I'm not always the queen of calm. But he's my fiance, by the way, for those of you who don't know. I will sometimes, not always, notice that I'm off. I'm feeling off, and then I'm talking to Bruce from an off place. And when I notice that, I'll pull back, I'll take a breath, I give myself a moment, and then I still might want to share this thing he's done that I don't like, but I'll try. It will then come across much better. And sometimes I wait. I can hear all the noise about what I want to say to him, and I'll either not say it because I just think, oh, that's going to go down a silly train, or I wait until I'm much calmer. And I found that to be really helpful in dealing with the people who I love and who are close to me, but also especially with dealing with the people who, quite frankly, folks, get on my nerves. I'll be honest, or seem to get on my nerves. I have a lot of annoying thinking about some people, and I've noticed that in dealing with those people, even with those people, when I'm calm, I'm just so much cleverer at communicating with other people when I'm calm, and you are too. You might not be able to see it all the time, but you really are. But we're going to cover that relationship stuff a lot next month. So what do you say, Steph? So it's our own work to change that. Interesting. Yeah, well, I wouldn't get too caught up in changing. It's more about knowing. It's that when we look in this direction over a period of time, we start to know when we are off and when we're not. And then the decision on what to do will come from that knowing. And that's where we're looking at. Yeah, awareness, Steph. Spot on. Beautiful. Well done. Yeah, well done. Sound like a primary school teacher again. It's all about awareness. It really is the awareness that allows that. Like I was saying before, you're on the train and the guard gets out and switches the button to say, turns the key, and now you can press that button as lit up and you can get off the train. When we realise that there are certain trains of thought that cause us a problem, we start to choose to come away from them. And those of you that have not, I know there's some new people here today, so you're in for a treat. I don't know where my ruler is. It may well be in the cupboard here, actually. I don't know. I can't see it. Anyway, I'm going to use what's tissue use instead, but I usually use a ruler for this, but it's like if I'm hitting myself on the head with this box of tissues, let's assume it's hard enough to give me a headache, and I'm telling you all about my headache and it's really awful. I usually do this with a ruler. And I'm banging away and saying, I've tried everything to get rid of my headache and it won't go away. And I'm sniffing lavender oil and I've got loads of fresh air and I'm not drinking too much caffeine, blah, 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 blah. And you're going to say, well, do you want to stop hitting yourself on the head with a box of tissues or a ruler or whatever else I might hit myself on the head with? Now, then I'm going to stop because it's hurting. I'm hurting myself. When we have that awareness, there are certain trains of thought that hurt us because they create so much suffering in our bodies. They create that discomfort, that angry feeling, that anxious feeling, that frustrated feeling, whatever it is. Then we will stop. We will stop and we'll step back from that. And that's that button on the train. It's lit up. We can see it. It's not always lit up because you're a human being and sometimes it will not be lit up, you won't see it. But when it lights up, it feels like freedom to me to be able to make that choice, to have the awareness to know that you are on an unhelpful train of thought and that there is something else available when you step away from that. And with productivity, that's, we're generally navigating that on our own, aren't we? Like I really noticed a difference between my productivity levels when I was in a school being a teacher and then a head teacher, because there was a lot of outside people needing things from me. They needed me to do bits of paper. They needed me to present things. They needed me to deliver staff training. They they needed me to produce things. So there was this external pressure to do that, or this external pull to do things. It wasn't all about me getting me to do things. And I really noticed, I don't know how many business owners we've got in the room here, but I really noticed a difference when it was just for me and just for my business. That's when I started to lose my way a bit with my productivity, and how it started to go a little bit out of kilter, to say the least. And I noticed it a lot. So I'll just have a nosy at the chat. So Sue, so are we just to replace those thoughts with positive thoughts, positive thinking? Interesting question. I don't tend to replace anything with anything because you can't. A thought is, once you've had a thought, it's gone. It isn't, you can't replace it. You can have another thought, might be a better one, might be a more positive one, but there's no replacing thoughts. That's really, like, I can see why you've said that, Sue, because positive psychology says that, doesn't it? Swap your negative thoughts for a positive one. How can you do that? That train's already left the station. Now you can add another carriage on with a different thought. But I tend to find, no, I don't tend to find it. Do I? No, I just stop. I just pause. And new thought comes in. I don't do that. That's the difference, I think, Sue. I don't do that. I don't do it. It just happens. The thought that I've had has gone, and when I pause and take a breath and give myself a moment, and I calm, when I'm calmer, new thinking is there, from intuition, from wisdom, from whatever you might call it. So Jenny, well, Jenny, mine too. You find that the train particularly pulls into the station in the middle of the night when you can't sleep. Yeah, I mean, I've been around this understanding for 3.5 years, and I still sometimes wake up in the night and can't get back to sleep. And what a lot of nonsense, I think, at that time. I don't know about you, Jenny, but it's what a load of utter rubbish. It really is. It's just nonsense, utter nonsense. And why, I don't know. And when do I, like, I can share all my ridiculous tricks the things that have made sense to me. Singing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star seems to help. For me, it seems that what helps is distraction. Sometimes I read, sometimes I just go back to sleep. I definitely, in terms of getting off the train, I noticed that there are certain types of thinking around you won't get back to sleep and this is terrible and you're getting like you were before, because I had sleep anxiety for a long time. So I may listen to something sometimes, mostly read my Kindle, sing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, Rockabye Baby to myself in my head. I don't sing out loud because although Bruce probably wouldn't wake up anyway because he's a heavy sleeper, but I sing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star to myself. I don't know. I think for me, and I have got a track on here called Sleep. It's worth listening to. It's not a sleep meditation. It really is a story of my changing perspective of sleep. Is that I just don't care anymore. I care less than I used to about it, and the result has been better sleep. I don't know. Is this a completely PG? Is this a completely adult audience? Because I was on a ladies networking thing the other day, and they said that having an orgasm is one of the best ways to get better sleep. So that's worth a try. Anyway, so Deborah, in between stimulus and response, there is a space, and in that space lies your freedom. That is just, I love that. I don't know if you've read that book, Viktor Frankl's book, which is called, oh God, Deborah, what's the book called? Yeah, his book. Oh my God, I know the title of the book. It'll come back to me just as I finish this. Man's Search for Meaning. Thank you so much, Deborah. I really couldn't find it. It wasn't in there. Yes, beautiful book. Such an amazing story. He definitely pointed in the same direction as Sydney Banks, the founder of the Three Principles. Definitely. Yes, Jenny, the crap that the brain starts up is bonkers. It absolutely is. Thoughts I have in the middle of the night are just ridiculous. Sometimes they're inspired. Sometimes my inspiration comes in the middle of the night and I have to get up and write things down. Do you know what? That's it. Woman's search for title. Like that's usually what wakes me up. Is like the title. Like, oh, what's going to be the thing? What's that going to be called? Or what I'm going to call? I want to rename my Insight Timer group, and I haven't got a title yet. I might just call it Powered by Calm. I quite like that. But anyway, so that comes up. The solution to things comes up, and what I really like, what I think about that is that I think that's me being too busy during the day and not allowing myself just some time for things to settle, or there's not space in my day. I've made myself too busy, and then my brain goes, the only time this woman can hear a new idea is at 3 o'clock in the morning, so that's when we'll give her one. So, like wisdom says, here's your new idea at 3 o'clock in the morning, because there's no time during the day. So yes, Jenny, I'm with you there. Got Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl, brilliant book, highly recommend listening to that or reading it. And Jenny, Woman's Search for Title. That is it. And that's what happens to me at 3 o'clock in the morning, is the ideas come in often. But I think the big thing for me has been, it doesn't matter. Like, the story is about you're going to die 10 years earlier if you don't get enough sleep and blah, blah, blah. I don't know that that's particularly helpful. I just think it's what's happening right now. And sometimes, you know what, I just enjoy lying awake and just think, I'm in my nice warm bed, I'm safe, I'm dry, I'm warm. Bruce is snuffling away next to me. Life's all right, Excuse me. So there I go again. Can I just tell you about the yawning? I've worked out what it is. It's not tiredness, it's emotion. I don't know if you've ever done like brain gym. You do that. You do that with your jaw like that, and it makes you yawn. It kind of is energy moving. When I get a bit emotional about something, like just then talking about sleep, I yawn. worked it out. And my eyes get a bit teary as well. That often happens. So if you're here listening for the first time and you don't like crying, you're in the wrong place, because invariably I do cry at least once a week, don't I? People who are regulars, and that's fine. It's good, better out than in. So I can see we've got lots of people here now, and lots of people who I haven't said hello to yet, and a few familiar faces I can see bobbing up and down at the bottom. So if you haven't said hi yet, you can do. You don't have to, of course. And if you're new here, I'd love to hear from you and hear what you've thought about this session. And if you just come in really near the end and you're thinking, what is she on about today? Then there is a recording. And what we've been talking about is what's in the way of productivity and what to do about it. So really, the answer to the question is there's nothing to do about it, but there's a lot to know about what might be getting in the way of your productivity. What's in the way of productivity is psychology, feelings that we believe to be true about something we've got to do, and the thoughts that are creating those feelings. And that's it. It's not more complicated than that. It really isn't. Much as the world out there might tell us that trying to be more productive is super complicated and involves lots of hard work. It turns out that once I stopped all the hard work on my productivity problem, it disappeared all by itself, which is quite marvellous. And that doesn't mean I'm on it all day, every day. If you heard that very noisy motorbike then. It doesn't mean I'm on it all day, every day, but it does mean that generally I get stuff done. It will be, if you go to the link in my bio, which is a fun place to go and visit anyway, fun to go to my bio and follow me, fun to go to the link in bio, and in the link in bio there is a YouTube playlist somewhere on there, and that's got these recordings on, which I will pop up. I'll try and do it after this call if it downloads quickly enough. So you can go and listen to it there, and you can go and listen to quite a lot of the other lives. I think all of last month's have ended up on there, and there's just one missing from this month because I have to leave my laptop on its own screen recording in order to record them, because I did one and it didn't record properly, so I have to go back in, and I'll probably do that tomorrow when I'm back at home and I can just leave my laptop quiet in a room on its own. I think it's the one about procrastination that hasn't ended up on here. So it's a shame you can't go back and watch them actually, but you can't. There's not the technology for that, but we have the technology here. So we're just about on the an hour's worth of me being here, which tends to be the point at which I kind of wind it up. So thank you so much for being here. So much is ironic, Jenny, let's be honest. I've got a couple more coming up this week. It's a bit of a busy week for me, so I'm doing Tuesday and Thursday this week. I'm doing Tuesday at 9:05. Again, we'll be recording it, will be on the YouTube channel. Cultivating mindfulness for effortless productivity. Really cool. Really love talking about mindfulness, but not in the way you might be expecting. A little bit different. And Thursday the 20th, inspiring creativity, exploring the 3 principles perspective. And what I am doing with all these sessions as well is I am creating a short, like podcast size session, which I'm putting on Insight Timer with the same title. So it's quite good. If you miss it, you can either just catch up on a little audio or you can catch up on the full video. So I'm trying to make it all connect together. As I said before, if you don't follow me already, please do follow me. Please check out my courses. I've got 3 courses and a 4th one will be born shortly, all about relationships. This month's theme is productivity, so I've got lots of lives coming up for the rest of this month, all about productivity. So if it's a subject that you would like to learn more about, then definitely come and go and follow me. There's lots of stuff on my link in bio, so there's lots of places for you to connect with me, to book conversations with me, etc. So please check that out. And if you found this helpful, and if you can see the potential of the 3 principles and you'd like to support me to do more of this stuff on Insight Timer and guide more people to reveal their amazing human potential as a human potential catalyst, then I'm always grateful for any donations you're able to make. I hope you have found this session helpful. I hope you take it forward and listen to more of this content. As I've already said to people who've been here a while, it's changed my life, this understanding. and that's why I'm so passionate about sharing it with you. So hopefully I'll see some of you either Tuesday at 9:05, this is all their BST, or Thursday at 8:05, which is when the other sessions are. Lots of love, take care, and have a wonderful week. I hope to see you again soon.